So, is it my trauma or is the relationship unsafe? The first things that come through for me on that one is the relationship, if it's a safe place, say I'm just going to use partnership as an example, right? Because that's usually what we talk about here. It should be a co-creative space. As in we're choosing to come together to do something different here, to do relationship differently than we've ever done it before, to do it differently than our families. So you're both making the conscious, that's why I talk about conscious relationships so much, because you're coming together to make the conscious choice to do something actively different. So it doesn't mean that your trauma won't be triggered. In fact, it absolutely will. It for sure will, because that's the nature of relationship. Right? Like you come together at first with all the the fun, the honeymoon, the sex, all the feel good things. That's what brings you together and just kind of bonds you. Right? That's normal. That's healthy. And then that bond is created so that when hard stuff starts to come up, you already have a bond so that, okay, it makes it easier to work through some of our traumas that are coming up. Because if you're wanting to do relationship differently than you've ever done it before, you have to be different than you ever were before. Your triggers, think of your triggers as an electric fence, helping you to be in the same space you've always been. Because your protective mind does not have any clue what's on the other side of that electric fence. Even though we know in our wisdom, the only thing that lies beyond that is the relationship life you've always wanted. But if you come from trauma, that's unfamiliar. So out of protection, your inner parts, your mind, the limiting beliefs, all that stuff works together to create this electric fence, like don't go beyond this point. When you touch it, so when you get triggered by something, you're touching the fence. So just breathe that in for a second and let me know if that makes sense or if I can clarify. So trauma's triggers absolutely will come up. They have to. We have to move through that electric fence to get on the other side of it. So when Garrett and I were first together, definitely in the first few years, triggers all over the place. All over the place. So I remember this one time, I think I said it in another live, but specifically we were at the pool one day. He needed to leave early because he had something he had to take care of. He had to take care of himself. And I felt completely abandoned. I was so mad. I was so upset. I was so hurt. I was so angry. And I was in it. I was in that space. He left me. He doesn't care. He's this, he's that. So that will come up no matter what. But here is the difference. Is my relationship safe? Is it not? I could go back and talk to him about it. And it was a safe place to do that. It doesn't mean the other partner's perfect. Doesn't mean you're perfect. Right? We've had conversations like that before and he got defensive, or he came to me and I got defensive. But if you're co-creating something new and you're consciously with another person who's making that choice, there's a lot more likelihood that you'll come back and repair. Oh, I'm sorry, babe. That was my shit that came up. I'm so sorry. And you come back around. That time for him, he didn't get defensive. This was years ago. But I realized through that conversation that it was an old dad wound showing up. It had nothing to do with him at all. So that's one thing that I just want to give you today is it a safe place to talk about things when your stuff comes up? Do you feel safe to talk about it? A safe relationship is you can kind of kick and scream around and figure yourself out and it's okay. Because that container is still going to be there at the end of the day. When it's unsafe, you don't feel safe to do that. Right? So when you go to the relationship, what should be the safe, soft place to land, when you go there, do you come out feeling more confused? Do you end up feeling more self-doubting? Do you feel more clear outside of the relationship than you do in it? That's a sign that the relationship itself might not be safe. A safe relationship should give you clarity. Is this making sense? Yeah, let me know any insights, anything that pops up. Yes, this will be posted as a replay, if that's what you were asking. Yeah, let me know any insights or questions or anything that comes up. Is this landing for you? Give me some hearts, or just nod your head, or just let me know. So that's one way that we can start to discern. Is it just my trauma? Because remember, we all bring our trauma into the relationship. You will have times where you feel confused. You will have times where you're doubting yourself. Absolutely. Is the relationship a safe place to start to process all of that? Or do you tend to feel like you have to walk on eggshells in your relationship? That's a sign it might not be safe. Now, according to your trauma, you may think you have to walk on eggshells. Okay, this is why if you have access to therapy or coaching, I encourage it so you can explore this more deeply for yourself. But you may, because of your former trauma, think you have to walk on eggshells. So that's where it requires some grit and some growth, and just try it out. Is it still safe at the end of the day to do that? It might be a hard conversation, but hard is very different than traumatizing or unsafe. When kids are adopted into new homes, and those homes generally are safe, I know adopted parents have to go through classes and things, and I'm not sure exactly what they teach in there, but I hope what they teach is that don't expect that adopted kid to come in loving you and thanking you and just being a big puddle of love. Likely, especially if they come from a dangerous environment, they're going to act out quite a bit. But why? It's because they're safe enough to do so. Because remember, a safe container, you're safe to do that. Okay, I look at my childhood, and there were things that were unsafe. There were. Overall, it was. I look back in there, and figuring myself out, it didn't feel as safe to do that when I was growing up. It wasn't as safe for me to kick and scream and get angry, and then my container is still perfectly sturdy at the end of the day. So I withdrew. I people pleased. I was the perfect child. With all that stuff that I needed to actually express and get out was on the inside, because I didn't really feel safe enough to stretch into the space. A safe space, a safe kid, like this is a container, is still going to be there. I'm in a sisterhood circle right now. It is the best. And over the past month, I had some issues in circle. I wasn't feeling good about a couple of things. And I was bringing my old sisterhood trauma into that circle. And I was making assumptions that if I said something to a couple of my sisters, that they would respond a certain way. So I was bracing. I was like, okay, fine. I'm ready. Come fucking on. And I had the conversation with them, and they were beautiful about it. They were a safe container for me to stretch, because actually now that I can see on the other side of it, what actually happened was that I was stretching and growing into a new space that I'd never been before. And I was bringing my old trauma with me. But in a safe container, that safe container is still going to be there. You can do that. You can snarl, you can stretch, you can get angry, you can spit, you can hiss, and you can apologize for it afterward if you do something that harms somebody. You can stretch around and figure shit out without fearing that container is going to fall over. Because they were there. They were beautiful, but they're like, cool, tell me more. I'm like, What? And I got to peel back layers that I didn't realize I was ready to peel back yet, because that container is safe. And now I'm just in it more than ever. And that's how my marriage has gone. You know, every time we did that, the closer we've gotten. Breathe that in. Is that resonating with you? Nod your head. If it feels good, put a hand on your heart space, on your womb space. I'm going to read a comment here. Big trigger this morning. A family member I blocked years ago texted me. I was sure I would not be moved, but I feel torn between engaging and building a higher, stronger fence. Yep, I get that. Yeah, and if you've built, you know, I know who's saying this right now. If you've built walls, you know, against a family, doesn't mean that the old feelings aren't still there. You know, if you built boundaries, that doesn't mean that if they approach, you don't still have emotion about it. My recommendation there, instead of jumping right into action, is to sit with the emotion. What emotion comes up? Go back in with yourself. Okay, that can be helpful for all of you, right? So if you're triggered like that and you're not sure what to do, do I talk to the person? Do I not? What do I do? Do I engage? Do I not? If you're not sure, that's always a good time to go back into self. I'm triggered. Okay, so where do I feel that in my body? In your physical body, in your physical, visceral body. Where is it? In my chest? Is it in my stomach? That's where we hold a lot of the emotion. What temperature is it? Is it hot, cold, somewhere in between? What texture is it? What color is it? Let that inform you. Breathe into it. Make the face of the emotion. If it's like that, if it's like that, what's the face? Let the emotion come out. It's making sense. Hi, May. So good. Any other quick questions? They don't have to be quick, but any questions or insights or anything that you want to share, anything I can clarify. And just remember too, this is such a journey. It's a journey. The reason I have my e-course and the link in my bio, you know, it's called Returning to Me for that reason, is because this is a journey of returning to self. And then it's easier to discern, okay, what feels safe and what doesn't? When am I triggered? It's gotten so much easier for me over the years, okay, to discern, I think I'm just triggered here. Yep, I'm definitely just triggered here, versus when something actually doesn't feel good. And it's not something to be perfect at. So just remember that too. This is not stuff to be perfect at. This is not stuff to get right. We're all just human and playing in this human space and just doing our best. So you get to give yourself a ton of grace. Yeah, good. Looking at comments here. Yes. Had to address some issues with my partner and found myself feeling anxious about it after, with a fear he might end things. Yeah. And yeah, what's interesting there is, you know, that, don't know, you could be feeling anxious because of old stuff. Is your partner holding good space? When you're working through trauma stuff together, like, yeah, your anxieties will come up. It for sure will. Could be old residue stuff, you know, because if it's old trauma just still in your body, that's why trauma work is so important, or releasing that emotional energy from the body. That's what we do a lot with clients. It's just, your body is magnificent at healing. It's so good at it. So we just get to create a safe container and a space to just release that old emotion and trauma from your body. Because old limiting beliefs, like they'll always leave me. Pretty sure that's one I had. They'll never be there for me. That's definitely one I've carried. What locks them in is the old emotion that was imprinted the first time you learned it. Now, you may have learned it in the womb space. It could go that early, or it may be your mom's or your mom's moms or somebody. But releasing the emotional energy helps loosen and start to chip away that old trauma stuff. Reading through questions here. Okay, so the question is what to do when my partner has very clear childhood traumas that impact our relationship, and I'm not sure how to let him. I'm not sure how to. Is the question, I'm not sure how to get him to work on that? Super sass, if I'm saying that right. Yes, what to do when my partner has, I've heard that a lot, if I'm reading that right, by the way. I've heard that a lot. My partner has clear childhood traumas that's impacting our relationship. I'm not sure how to get him to work on that. Okay, yeah, that's a really great question. So if your partner clearly has stuff, as we all do, and it's really coming in and impacting your relationship, and I'm assuming you're not sure the partner hasn't worked on this, or let's just say if they haven't worked on it yet. I can tell you from personal experience, this happened in my marriage, that when we started dating, I'd already been in therapy, and he hadn't yet. And so we were about 2-3 years in, and some of his old stuff and traumas, he was aware that he's like, I know they're there. Like, are you kidding? Like, they're there, but he wasn't in the place to work on them yet. And it was affecting our relationship. So I want to give you my experience to learn from it. What I attempted to do at first was I escaped my own body and tried to get him to do it. So you should go to therapy. You should do this. You should do that. Here's something I learned from my therapist. You're like, I'm trying to get you to. Anytime you start using language like, how do I get them to? You get to pause, take a breath, because then you're trying to control somebody. And you get to come back into your own body. And there's still a way to navigate this, but from a place of more embodiment, empowerment, and integrity. So then I went back to my own therapy. I was like, he won't do this, blah, 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 blah. And I had a good therapist who helped me. And I learned that, I can come from myself, as in, probably about a year later, my husband and I had a conversation again. I asked him for a conversation. I have a whole cheat sheet in my bio, the link in my bio, by the way, how to have a hard conversation. You go check it out. But I asked him, are you open to having a conversation? Yes. I have been feeling very hurt, scared, lonely. Here's what I'm experiencing. I'm having a hard time that you're not working on your stuff. Here's how I feel impacted. Here's how I feel our relationship is being impacted. I can't tell you what to do. I'll be honest, I'd love for you to go to therapy today. I would love that. I understand though that you're sovereign. I'm just letting you know I'm having a really hard time. Here's some of the changes I'd like to work on in our relationship. But do you hear the difference? It's coming from me. It's not you should, it's I feel. So it's not you should, you need to, because then I've escaped my own body in an attempt to control somebody else in their experience. They get to choose. They're sovereign. They don't have to work on their stuff. I get to choose whether I stay in a relationship where somebody's not working. And that's something I wasn't willing to do. I knew for me that would be really hard. And I may just not do it. If somebody's not willing to work on their stuff and join me in this growth, that was the highest value to me. So it's not that I'm telling him what to do. I'm expressing myself. And then a little later on his own, he started going and he's never turned back. And now he loves personal growth. We do meditations, we do tapping together. Okay, hasn't. Okay, just reading comments again. Yes. Glad this is helpful. Okay, he keeps repeating old patterns. Yeah. Oops, my thumb. Okay, so I'm aware I can't heal him, right? Can't heal him, can't control him, but I'm willing to hold space for him as he heals himself. Yeah, and that's part of it. So the comment there is, I'm willing to hold space as he heals himself. Yeah, that's part of it. You know, as somebody's doing the work, we hold space. A question I get asked all the time is, when do I know when to hold space while my partner's doing their work and it's just hard? And when do I know when it's a time to leave? Like, you don't. You don't. There's no right or wrong answer. You get to discern if yet. I know you're super, you know, you weren't even talking about leaving the relationship, but that's something I've heard so many times. You get to discern if eventually somebody not doing their work is okay or not for you. And there's no wrong choice there either. There's no wrong choice there either. Because you're also a sovereign being. And we get to release these old perfectionistic ideas that we get to do relationship. There's one right way. There's the right path. That doesn't exist. It's your path. It's what feels most aligned to you. So yeah, it's absolutely a thing that while somebody's doing their healing work, and maybe for the first time, and they're figuring things out, and yeah, you get to hold space. You also get to decide that if by hold it, like, is it a safe space for you to hold? Okay, do you feel safe holding space? Are there momentary, like, shit storms? That's really normal. Is it a pattern of a shit storm? And you just get to decide what to do with that. But yes, you'll be kind of holding each other back and forth. You know, Garrett and I joke all the time, like, thank goodness it's usually one of us that's having the meltdown, right? Like, it's a rare, like, there's been times where it's been us both, and like, those are fun. It's like, who's like the rock here? Well, neither one of us. We're both having a really hard time, but we're just constantly just holding space for each other's process. Okay, go back and read some of the comments here. Yes, Sarah, great comment. Got to give them the space, the chance to be empowered. Absolutely. Yes, yes. That's something key that I really learned in my own work in my marriage, is that my codependency, like, my just loves to like do it for everybody and overgive and just overdo. But I got to really that was my self-soothing work that I got to do. Because what is propelling me to do their work for them? Right? Super Seth, I'm not talking about you just there. That's just something that I've seen a lot. And yeah, so if anybody resonates with that part, you know, do their work for them. Right? So you get to hold them the space, you know, be there as they churn through and figure themselves out. It's all really fine lines, right? Like, this is a new lifestyle. This is a new way of being in relationship. But even from my own experience, I can tell you this, even when you're holding the space for them to heal, for them to grow, for them to churn, for them to figure out their shit and their traumas. And of course, you're there supporting them, not doing it for them, but you're with them, holding them space for them to find their own ground, their own power. It should still feel steady for you. It should still feel like a soft, safe place for you. Something else to be mindful of for all of you is, have you ever had the experience of you're typically the one that holds the space or is the rock? Any of you resonate with that? I've had a lot of clients go through that. Are you also able to fall into the space? If there have been problems with that, maybe that's something you approach your partner about. Like, hey, I've had this experience. I feel like I'm always the only one holding space. Okay, reading comments now. Okay, well, it's interesting because I said that before I read your comments. So every conversation where I express my feelings, I always make sure I feel, yes, even when you're using I language ends in an argument, that's something to pay attention to. Right? Maybe that's something you can bring to the relationship. Here's a pattern I've noticed. I'm not okay with this. You know, what's happening here? Are you willing to work on this with me? Because it should also be a safe space for you. Okay, I spent years trying to be Garrett's therapist. He's watching, he's like, yeah. And our marriage got way better when I stopped doing that. So it should always be still a safe space for you. Nobody's the parent figure. That's a lot of dynamic that a relationship can get into where you, and that's normal attachment stuff, like you're healing, you're shedding old parent traumas, because to your attachment brain, they trigger, your partner triggers the same stuff that was triggered in you by your caregivers. So you're going to work through that, but what often ends up happening is at some point you try to be the parent, or you try to get them to be a parent unconsciously. I tried to mold Garrett in so many ways to be my perfect dad, and he is just such a conscious man. He was like, sweetie, you gotta stop. Stop it. Stop. Like, no. He basically told me, because he's an empowered man, I get to have this space to be safe and to lean into too, and to mess up. And I was like, he's right. How to gain trust after so many betrayals. Yes, yes, yes. Hearing you, seeing you, resonate with that. Start within. Start with self-trust within. When so much trust has been broken on the outside, that may sound weird, but it has to start within. So again, that right there is deeper work. If you're able to do it one-to-one with somebody or in a small group, that would be great. Self-trust, it's a process, but it will help you learn to trust other people. If we've had just issues with trust all our lives, then the issue is we get to work on it within. And that's from trauma too. You know, we were raised in an environment where it was chaotic or not very trustworthy. It doesn't set us up to trust ourselves very well. If that makes sense. Nothing you're doing wrong. If that ever shows up for you, like it's not something you're doing wrong that you have to go in and learn about self-trust, that's a shame story we get to release. You go in and trust yourself. One exercise I can give you all right here, right now about self-trust is give yourself 5 to 10 minutes after this live. You know, if you can't, then do it later. 5 to 10 minutes. Get in a quiet space, either the room you're in, or you can do it outside if you can trust that you can have at least just some separation from other people and other energies, but you want to be in your own energy. Sit on the ground, or stand, or lay down. And you can turn on some music that feels good, that matches your mood. So you get to self-trust. What's my mood right now? I want soft and sad music. Okay. Turn on some music or not. And then just spend 5 to 10 minutes, even like 5, even like 2. Move your body in the way that your body wants to move. Not the way your head thinks you should be moving, but listen to, it's a much, do I want to say harder? Yeah, harder practice than it sounds like right now. But move your body in the way that your body wants to move. Does it want to do something fast? Is it angry? Does it want to like turn into anger and like hit a pillow or scream into a pillow? Does it want to move joyfully? Does it want to move really, really, really slow? Like a lot of times we're too fast, and like you can just like, maybe I just want to see how slowly I can move my arm. Maybe my body likes that. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I kind of want to swirl my chest around. Maybe I want to wiggle my toes. Maybe I kind of want to move my hips a little. Does that make sense? That's just, this is big work. You know, trust after betrayal, trusting yourself, it's big work. But that's one exercise that you can do. Hi, Katie, if you're still here. Yeah. Okay. Did all that for my partner only to lose myself in all of it. Yeah. Now he's fine in a good space, and I'm having to deal with my, sometimes it feels lonely. Yeah, so just reading comments now, the comment there, did all that for my partner only to lose myself in all of it, right? Now he's finding it in a good space. Let's challenge that. We don't know that for sure, right? We don't know all the inner workings there. Okay, that's a story we can commonly tell ourselves. We're empowered. Okay, we get to be mindful of the stories. I've heard that so many times from the women I work with. So many times. Well, he's fine. You know, like, we don't know. I don't know what's going on inside of him. I haven't peeled back his brain and into his emotions. I don't know that. Yep, and I'm having to deal. Yeah, and thank you for all of you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for commenting. And I hope this can be a safe space for you. And I'm always going to love you enough to challenge you a little bit. So my challenge there, so he's fine in a good space. I'm having to deal with myself and traumas, and it feels lonely. Totally here. And if any of you relate, like to just like you break up, you're dealing with it, and it feels lonely. Absolutely it does. Yeah, that's part of the pain. That's part of the pain and the joy of being human. Loneliness is calling, we're calling in connection. We need that connection. So totally hearing that you're dealing with that, you're dealing with the traumas, you just, it's a rough place to be in for sure. And I would just offer one tweak. You get to deal with yourself and your traumas. You don't have to, you get to. You're empowered enough to do that. You get to work on yourself so much that what you call in next is going to be amazing. And at more of a level. Okay, so all of these things that we get to work through, we get to build the muscle to call in something more up here, something more conscious. So yes, you get to work on yourself in this way. You absolutely get to do. You have the privilege of doing that. Yes, you do. And you, like everybody else, deserve to feel very heard and seen about the traumas that you went through, and you get to work on this. Yes. Because now you're in a position to work on yourself in a way that, pouring into a relationship, you shouldn't lose yourself. Okay, that's an inward pattern. That's a pattern that's inward, that I give too much of myself away. I disconnect from myself. That's an old, more pattern-based in codependency. That I put myself away to tend to somebody else's needs. So now you get the opportunity to work within yourself. So next in relationships, you can practice being fully embodied, being fully in here, honoring all of your own boundaries to bring that in a relationship with somebody else. You're you and you're with somebody at the same time. So it looks like that. Yes. Good. Thanks, Emma. I'm glad this is helpful. Reading comments now. So why do you never felt like my feelings are validated or cared for? Yes. Cuts the conversation short by saying something is wrong with me. Ooh, yeah, that's something to pay attention to. That's what I would call a red flag. Is that if your partner's saying something's wrong with you, or I have a communication problem. Yeah, that's something to pay attention to for as far as relationships not being a safe space. Yep, if you're constantly cut off, told something's wrong with you, told you have a communication problem, if you're being cut off, and that's consistently, not a momentary here and there, oh shit, I got triggered, I cut you off, I'm so sorry, there's a big difference. If it's a pattern, that's something to pay attention to. Reading comments. Yeah, I got exhausted emotionally and mentally, so I stopped bringing up things that hurt me or things I would like to work on in our relationship. Yeah, also something to pay attention to. It should always be a safe, because a partner who's doing their work, their co-creative work to co-create something different with you, is also going to be up to the challenge. Maybe an old pattern of theirs is to shut their partners down. But if they're willing to do something different, you're going to feel that, and they're going to want to work on that. Good. You do that in the water, that exercise that I just mentioned. That's awesome. Water's so healing. That's a great place to do that. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. But keeping things to myself is killing me. Well, of course it is. And causing stagnation in the relationship. Small talk and that's it. No effort, no engagement. Blah! Of course that doesn't feel good. Yes, keeping things to yourself, that's suffocating. And that will suffocate yourself and the relationship. It should always be, a relationship should be your safe base. Right? Like in attachment terms, if you guys are familiar with attachment science, you know, we see this all the time, like with baby ducks, but we all at least mammals do it. But, you know, typically like mom, you know, for the sake of this conversation, is safe base, like safe attachment. And what we see is we watch baby ducks, like they're right on mom all the time, mom all the time. Where's mom going? Mom, 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 all the time. They start growing and they venture out a little and then back to mom. They venture out a little bit more and then back to mom. They venture out a little bit more and then back to mom. There are some attachment experts that say that goes on for a lifetime. I think that's interesting. Maybe I go visit my mom all the time. Maybe I'm just going back to safe base. Anyway, that's if you have a safe, that's safety. So we definitely did not all have that in childhood where that gets complicated when it's not safe. But your partnership, that's what it should feel like. If you're co-creating it consciously, is it no matter what is happening in the world, and there's a lot happening in the world, you all, right after this, I'm leading a guided channeled meditation to send love to Afghanistan, to wherever you want to send it. Remember that we're all processing trauma from last year still. Not just your junk, we're collectively processing junk. We get to go easy on ourselves, okay? And maybe that's what's propelled me to want to talk about relationships in this way, because no matter what else is going on, a safe relationship will be a place where you can, at the end of the day, fall into it and go, and make the cry face. And you're safe to do that metaphorically. Does that make sense? It's a soft, safe place to land where you get to feel, you should feel free to express, to be however you need to be. If in that expression something spats out onto your partner, apologize and repair. Don't worry about we can't be perfect, but it's still safe. Does that make sense? It's a safe place to stretch around and figure shit out of being human and what that means. So if you're feeling that you have to hold stuff in, that's something to pay attention to. Reading comments. I think I'm starting within good for a lot of things in my life. Maybe after years more of this in the future, I could try a relationship again. Yeah. Starting everything from like going within, like starting from here. Yeah, that's good. How can I support my partner in answering this question for themselves? They still struggle with not feeling safe with me because of past trauma. Okay, get that. Yep, it's been a year living together, same questions. Yeah, like that. So the question here is, partners struggling with a lot of past traumas because their traumas is not feeling safe to lean in. Yeah, totally. If your partner has protected themselves in this way, you know, typically that can be seen in a very avoidant type attachment. That's actually more of where I lean, which is funny. I do both. I'm kind of anxious attachment, but more it's avoidant. So for me, I relate to that in telling myself that things weren't safe when they actually were. It was just my old traumas. For you, maybe you've done what you can do. How can I support my partner in knowing that I'm a safe space? You keep being a safe space, you know, as in you don't judge, you let them know, hey, I'm here. Are you holding space for little things, little conversations throughout the day, but not overextending yourself either? Are you being a safe space for you? holding your own boundaries. Aside from that and letting them know that you're there to support you, there's nothing you can do. That's all their own journey. It's theirs. It's their journey, not ours. Now, if you've done that for a year and nothing's changed, it is an option for you. And what I would probably do. Now, when I say that, I'm saying not that you should do what I do. I'm saying for me, this would feel aligned. I want to offer it in case it feels aligned to you. What would probably be on my heart to express is, honey, I'm feeling really lonely. I feel a little guilty that I feel this way, but I feel frustrated. That's also how you're a safe space, is you don't keep any resentments back. You also express yourself. You know, we get to be really careful, and especially the women I care for are, you know, kind of like overly good at holding space to where they're not showing out themselves. This is still a safe container for you, so make it safe. Make it safe for yourself. That actually strengthens the safety of the container. So if you're feeling sad, lonely, frustrated, any range of emotion, it may be other than that, any emotions, express that to your partner. You can say, you know, I know in my heart and in my wisdom, I don't want to rush your process. I don't. Part of me does. You can say that. A part of me, it's not my wise space, but, you know, part of me wants to be like, come on. Let's get this going. But I'm expressing that to you, partner, because I want to show it fully to you. I'm having a hard time. I've expressed that to Garrett before. When he's got a really, and he's going to be starting to be more open about this on his platform, you know, in his own time, but he has a big struggle in his life. And as he was working, he's been working through that, there have been pockets of those times where I was just having a hard time. I was having a hard time always holding space. So I expressed that. I said, honey, I'm here. I'm not holding space. My intention in telling you this is so I don't gather resentment. It's like, I'm just having a hard time with this right now. I feel blankety blank blank. I'm taking care of myself this way. I'm just expressing myself. I'm not asking you to fix me. But if it's a safe container, then you get to be in integrity with that, which means it's safe for me as well. So it's just food for thought. Hi from Melbourne, Australia. Hello from Nashville, Tennessee. That's awesome. Thanks. Hey, your wisdom. You're so welcome. Yes, yes, yes. Glad this is helpful. Resonating? But don't baby ducks have kids every spring? I think. I don't know. I'm not an expert on ducks. All I know is what they told us, you know, in like attachment science classes that we do. Like you'll see with any kind of animal, any kind of mammal. Right? Yeah, I don't know the intricacies. I can't tell you that. But who knows? Maybe their adult babies kind of fly back and say, hey, every like year. I don't know. But when they're babies, you do. They're like, boop, 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 boop. Okay, reading comments, Yes, a relationship, friendship where you're allowed to be yourself is the best feeling. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. Yes. Having gone from myself to relationships that did not feel safe to actually ones that do, it's a big difference, which helps me to speak on it with a lot more clarity. You're so welcome. Hello from Croatia. That's awesome. I love all of you tuning in. I love it. I love it. I love it. Great question. So the question here, do you think it's better to work on myself first before getting into a relationship? Or is it fine to work on myself within the relationship? That is perfect because I posted on that a few months ago, and it's a post that got a lot of action. Because let me tell you this, it's absolutely fine to take some time off from dating to work on yourself. That's great. Don't expect it to all be done because it won't be by the time you get in a relationship. certain triggers are only triggered by relationships. So you literally can't do it all alone. So I would discern. You know, you get to, I was actually engaged years ago, like 15 years ago. And I dated shortly after that for a couple of years. I personally decided I needed like a year just off. So it was, to do my own work. And I did. I started getting into therapy. It was really helpful for me. And then Garrett came along. I can't guarantee those results for everybody, but time off for me was very helpful. So you get to discern that. Yes, but you will continue, just know that you will continue to work in relationships. That's where some of the bigger attachment work is, because your attachment mechanisms only trigger within relationships in the way that they actually need to move through them. Does that make sense? So when you're single, there's not like a trigger hanging around. Yes, good stuff. Whoops. Okay. Amazing. That feels super good. I love you all so much. I'm going to end this real quick and then kind of clear my channel a bit. If you want to join me for a live guided, I'm going to open up my channel and just channel. We're going to just sit together and send some love wherever it needs to go, you know, to Afghanistan for sure. But I want to show you all how easy it is to to send love, and you just get to do that. But I'm going to shake myself out, clear my channel, get a bit to drink, and just hang out. If you want to stay with that for about like a minute, I'm going to go on another live so I can put on another title so people will know what it is if they want to join in. This will absolutely be reposted on the it'll be available later today. You can go back always. I love you all so much. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for being here. You're not alone. You're not alone. My gosh, I love you so much. You're so loved. You're so supported. You're at the exact right place that you need to be. Okay, don't worry about doing any of this the right way. You're here, you're growing, I can feel it. And you're just doing amazing no matter where you are. So thank you so much for being here. You get to be supported in community, and I love supporting you. The next Emerging Mondays is next Monday at the same time, 12 p.m. Central. I'm about to switch this off, and if you want to hang around for about 1 minute, give me 1 minute to shake myself out. We're going to do a guided live meditation for Afghanistan. So just hang around for like 1 minute, and I'm going to pop back on with a live. Okay? All right. Love you all so much. You're doing beautiful.